welcome to my flat in the Netherlands. Now, for the past 5 years, I've been living, working, and studying in Denmark. So, why would I move to the Netherlands, especially because I seem so happy in Denmark? Well, it's a bit of a long story. Essentially, I came to Denmark to complete my undergraduate degree in architectural technology, and when I came to Denmark, I was under the impression that architectural technology was a part of architecture, because in the UK, architectural technologists are considered equal to architects. But the system in Denmark is very, very different and very unique. Architectural technologists handle the design of the construction. And so while they might do construction detailing and construction management, they're not allowed to purely design concepts. And in school in Denmark, I was not allowed to design, period. And this is something that surprises a lot of people, because they assume that I went to school to become an architect. But the profession in Denmark is split between these two fields, really. And then you have engineers coming in as well. So I got my degree, and by the side of it, I was working. My first job was actually for the school itself, where I was working with design work. And so I didn't really envision how this would come to impact me until I started getting close to graduation. And that's when the mantra really kicked into high gear of, you're not a designer, you're just here to make the construction work. I guess I would say that things really changed when my work started really taking off. It was really surreal, because I was working a desk job, and then all of a sudden I was getting just this absolute flood stream of emails from journalists and from people offering me opportunities from around the world. And they were all calling me a designer. And this was not something I considered myself at all. I was like, I'm not a designer. I have been told over and over again that this is not what I am and I can't do this. So it was very surreal to have suddenly this extreme outside validation that what I was doing in my free time was actually really interesting and really worthwhile for people. So at that point, I was working a desk job. I was working as a technologist for a summer house company. And I really enjoyed that job so much. It pushed me, it challenged me beyond belief. I was speaking in Danish every single day with no English, handling clients and entire building projects. And I loved it. But I was beginning to become torn between, do I stick with this, or do I try and go out and create my own thing? And so I was very much torn on this. One of the biggest issues I faced was that although I was getting all this outside validation from other countries, within Denmark I was still being told, we can't do a feature on you. We can't let you teach or let you lecture because you're not an architect, because you're not a designer, because you have this title, because you didn't learn how to design. So it was this constant back and forth of other people saying that what I'm doing is good, but in this country, it's not good. And I really found that a challenge. And it got to the point where I was looking at competitions, and I was doing multiple competitions in 2019. And yet the ones in Denmark, they specified that my degree had to have come from either the Royal Academy or the Aarhus Academy. So they were completely closed to architectural technologists. And again, it was just my title that was the issue. So I began to realize, if I wanted to get further, if I wanted to start my own firm, if I wanted to start my own design practice in Denmark, I would need the right degree. But the issue was, because of my undergraduate degree, none of the art academies would accept me as a student, even though I had previously studied architecture for a hot minute. The assumption was that I didn't understand design, I didn't understand design history or theory, And so I just got a whole wave of rejections from every single school I applied to for a master's degree. They all said the same thing. They all said, start over from scratch, you know nothing, start over at a bachelor level, and then get back to us. And so I was very, very discouraged. I was still torn of, do I keep working in Denmark, or do I start my own thing? Do I go to school? And then COVID happened and made the decision for me. So my visa stability in Denmark was tied to the fact that I was employed. Even though I was married to a Danish citizen, the laws in Denmark have changed substantially over the last 5 years, to the point where the same law has been revised sometimes twice or 3 times in a year for immigration, which is insane. And almost all these laws apply retroactively, unless you have already received this permit scheme. So when I lost my job from COVID, there was nothing really to do about it, because I didn't lose my job because I was a bad employee. I worked for a really small firm in the middle of the country, and they weren't eligible for the help packages. So I lost my job. I didn't have any job insurance because of the immigration law changes. So I had 0 safety net. I had 0 income suddenly. And one school managed to accept me, and that was TU Delft in the Netherlands. So I looked around, I looked at Denmark, I looked at the fact that I was being called every week by immigration asking if I had found new employment to prove that I was integrated enough, and thought, do I want to spend the rest of my life with this constant phone calls from immigration, or do I want to go and get my master's degree, get European rights, and figure out how to build my own firm after all that? And the answer was quite clear. So I moved here in the middle of the pandemic to study my master's degree at TU Delft. And I have to say, I really feel like it was the best decision. I was very emotional about leaving Denmark. I still am. I was so emotional that I wrote a whole book about it. I took all my sketches from all 5 years, and it was almost 100 pages of sketches that I had done, just traveling the country, experiencing the culture and the people and all the tiny little cool details that I picked up, and just put it all into this one big beautiful book with all my feelings, all my love for the country. And that's why I decided to go back to school. I realized over the past 2 years just how important having the right title is in this industry, and how closed off it is, frankly, especially if you don't have the finances to be able to pay for the education. And so I'm even more grateful that I've had 4 Danish foundations so far help sponsor the costs of my education here in the Netherlands. And even though I'm away from Denmark now, it's a country that just keeps giving and keeps rewarding people. I would have never had access to these scholarships in the US. So, although it was very bittersweet, a very difficult decision, at the end of the day, I feel like it was the right decision.